So you're starting a podcast and putting together your shopping list. You've got your microphone, you've got your headphones picked out, but you still need to figure out how you're going to capture your audio. You need to record your podcast somewhere. And luckily, you can accomplish that in several different ways. But just like with any other equipment, the podcast recording device that you choose will be determined by the production requirements based on your show format. If you have two speakers in the same room, for instance, you're going to need a podcast recording device that can support two microphones simultaneously. So in today's video, we're going to explore 4 ways that you can record your podcast audio and discover which one is right for you. Okay, so before we jump into our first option, we should get some terminology out of the way. What do we mean when we say input? This is an important term, as you'll need to understand how many inputs you'll need on any given device based on your production needs. An input is literally the point at which you connect your microphone to your recording device. Now, this can be in the form of an XLR or TRS cable, or it could even be a USB. Different devices are able to support a different number of inputs at any given time, and this just means that they can support more live microphones at any given time. So if you're planning on recording a panel of people, for instance, you'll need a device with a sufficient number of inputs. Now, on the flip side, if you plan on only recording yourself for your show, you'll only need a device with 1 microphone input. Lastly, we'll need to understand stereo versus multi-track recording. There are 2 ways to record your audio: stereo and multi-track. Now, stereo recording involves capturing all the audio and consolidating it down into just 1 file. And this can create some problems when it comes to post-production. Being that everybody's audio is consolidated into 1 file, you can't isolate individual microphones. So if your guest coughs, for instance, while you're speaking, there really isn't a way to remove that in post-production. Now, multi-track recording, on the other hand, involves capturing individual tracks of audio for each individual microphone. This allows you greater control over the final sound, as you're able to isolate each speaker to better process the audio in editing. Now, if your guest coughs while you're speaking, you can mute their audio and remove it altogether. So with that said, when scoping out which audio recording device is right for you, you should absolutely be looking at gear that supports multi-track recording. So with that, let's take a look at the 4 different ways you can record your podcast audio. The audio interface. This is a piece of hardware that bridges your analog audio gear, your microphones, and transduces it down into the digital realm on your computer. It will include a number of inputs for your microphones, each of which with their own gain knobs, essentially volume control, and then the audio is funneled down into a USB cable and sent to your computer in multi-track format. You can then set up your digital audio workstation like Audacity or GarageBand on your computer to record your audio for you. Now, it's important to understand here that your audio interface is not actually recording your audio. It's the computer recording the audio in your DAW. Think of your audio interface as a hub for your podcast microphones. These interfaces come in a wide array of input options and can support upwards of 8 to 16 microphones at any given time. Now, this is more than enough to meet any podcaster's needs. The digital recorder. This is a standalone device that records audio digitally without the need for a computer, as the audio is recorded to a memory card or internal storage. I'm sure you've seen these before. Think Tascam or Zoom recorders. With these devices, all you need to do is plug in your microphone, hit record, and you're good to go. You can then transfer your audio to your computer afterward for editing and post-production. Now, these devices come in various sizes, typically ranging from handheld portable devices to rack-mounted units for your studio. And usually, the larger the recorder, the more inputs it could support. So this would be a good choice for podcasting on the road or at live events, as its portability will allow you to use it on the go. Just make sure you're choosing a device that will support the number of inputs that you need. Your computer. If you're using a USB microphone, you can skip any additional devices and plug directly into your computer. This will allow you to open up your DAW of choice, plug in your mic, and hit record. Now, all that said, you're limited to the number of USB inputs you have on your computer, so if you're looking to record more than one person at any given time, you're going to need to ensure that you have enough USB inputs to support the number of microphones you'll be using. Using a USB microphone with your computer is a super convenient way to record, but it's best suited for solo podcasts or remote recording. Remote recording. And on that note, let's talk about remote recording. While not technically a recording device, it's just another way to capture your audio for your podcast. Let's be honest, getting everyone into a single room to record these days can be a tall task. And luckily, video conferencing has made this much easier for everyone. And while you can optimize Zoom to record audio for you, there are platforms like Riverside.fm or Zencastr that are specifically designed for high-quality remote recordings. These platforms will allow you to record multi-track audio and video while everyone is sitting comfortably at their desk in their home or office. It really makes recording guests a breeze. So now that we have these 4 recording options, let's talk about the different ways that you can connect your microphone to these recording devices, as it's going to be an important consideration when choosing your gear. For instance, XLR microphones are going to need a recording device that accepts, you guessed it, XLR inputs. And on the other hand, USB microphones only need a USB input on your computer, so make sure you're matching your recording device inputs to the type of microphone you have. Long story short, if you have an XLR microphone, you'll need an audio interface or digital recorder that accepts XLR. There's no way to plug directly into your computer. So there are 3 main ways to connect the microphone to your recording device, and we covered each of those in our last video on microphones. You can check it out at the link in the show notes for more info. So I'm sure by now you're asking yourself, well, what about my Bluetooth headset? And sure, you can connect your microphone via Bluetooth, but I would leave this as a last resort. You always want to go for a wired connection when possible to avoid any problems during a recording. Leave the Bluetooth for backup. In today's day and age, we're lucky to have the number of options we have when it comes to recording our podcasts. So whether you choose an audio interface or a USB microphone used alongside a remote recording platform will depend entirely on your needs as a podcaster. Asking questions like, how many guests will I have at a time? Or will I be recording on the road? These are all key considerations when planning your podcast setup. And by addressing these needs, you should have no trouble setting yourself up for success during each of your podcast recordings. Well, that's all I have for you today. If you need some ideas on choosing your podcast microphone, check out our video for an in-depth guide on picking the one that's right for you. We'll leave a link down in the show notes. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe so you don't miss any future content, and feel free to drop any comments on which recording device you prefer to use for your podcast. Thanks again for tuning in. We'll catch you next time.